Well, let's discuss the inflation figures then with Sarah Hewen, who's here with us, Chief Economist for Europe at Standard Chartered. And also in Leeds, we have Kate Hardcastle, a consumer analyst and founder of Insight with Passion, which offers advice to businesses. Thanks very much to both of you. So to you first of all, Sarah, I mean, what's your view of that rise in inflation? 3.1%. I suppose it's not disastrous, but wages are simply not keeping up.
That's right. Wages are growing at just over 2%, so an acceleration in inflation to 3.1% means that in real terms people have less to spend, and that has implications for the economy. We're already seeing consumer spending softening, and overall GDP growth, the growth rate of the economy has slowed as well over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Kate Hardcastle, just give us your view on this, and what does it mean for businesses out there in the real world?
Well, particularly the service and the retail industry are hugely affected by this increase, and they're affected particularly because consumers are reacting to it strongly. Consumers are savvier, they understand absolutely this is on the horizon and that supermarkets have particularly been holding back on increases in price on food, so that they know that they're going to have a very bleak start to the year where the basket price of their weekly shop's going to go up, they know fuel prices are going up, their wages are not particularly matching that, and therefore they're getting ready for what seems like an extended period now of economy drive in a traditional household.
And Sarah, if that's right, then that's bad news for the economy if consumers are going to be spending less, presumably. So what does the Bank of England do about that?
The Bank of England, I think, is going to be very cautious. They've signalled that although they did raise interest rates last month, that it may be some time before the next rate increase happens. At the same time, of course, they can't afford to ignore inflation. The concern is that in time, inflation could spiral higher if we start to see domestic factors feeding through to higher inflation. The Bank of England at that point would have to step in to increase interest rates to try to prevent prices from really accelerating.
So you don't think another interest rate rise for a few months at least?
No, in fact, we think that the economy will be soft enough next year that inflation will fall over the course of the next 12 months and that the Bank of England can afford to keep rates unchanged probably throughout 2018.
Kate, what would you like to see happen with interest rates? Do you think they need to be cut again, or do you think they need to go up?
If there's buoyancy in the marketplace, it makes the consumer a little more relaxed, and therefore they might be a bit more prepared to spend, enjoy life and take advantage of all areas. But that said, I think the consumer's much savvier now. They understand that this is a case of choosing alternatives, finding the best price for their family, or simply going without. For instance, we're coming up to the huge Christmas period at the moment, and we know that a fifth of families have just decided they would like to try and reduce their spending by half. That's significant. So consumers are very aware and they do react to news. Any positive news tends to see an uplift, and when we're in a situation like today, that will make people think twice.
And Kate, although we're seeing that overall rate of 3.1%, as I was mentioning, food on average has gone up 4.4%, transport 4.5%. I mean, these are the real costs for people out there that are even higher than this overall rate of 3.1%.
Absolutely. We looked at a traditional Christmas dinner yesterday to do some analysis on it, and we noticed that particularly butter is hugely up, nearly 30%. The Christmas pudding, anything that's reliant on butter for manufacturer, tends to be up 8 to 10%. So they're certainly going to see it in this short-term period, but definitely going in. And I think also the retailers, the supermarket grocery industry has just done as much as it can right now. And I think they will hit a point after Christmas where they relax in terms of that withholding of price increases, and the consumer will see that. So they'll be offering value in different ways.
And Sarah, that's right, isn't it? Although we have this 3.1% figure, in a sense that maybe disguises the reality of some of the price rises that we're seeing on food in particular, that it's really rocketing up.
That's right. In fact, where we see imported goods, then those prices do seem to have risen at a much more rapid pace because of the devaluation of the pound after Brexit. So there is an impact, obviously, where people need to spend more on food, then they will feel this increase much more.
Yeah. And Kate, just a last thought with you. We are seeing, aren't we, this disconnect really between wages, real wages, and inflation, and that's very difficult for an awful lot of people out there.
It is, and consumers actually go very one way or the other with this. Sometimes they hear news like this and they feel that actually it's time for them to celebrate because it's never going to get better and go out and perhaps spend above their means. But what we're feeling at the moment is the consumers have heard this news repeatedly and they're actually becoming wise to this and they're going to try and pull back. Interestingly, it is sometimes the households at this period of the year that have the least that spend the most. So it's with hope that there is enough messaging out there that perhaps because we always hit a credit crisis in January for a lot of families, that actually they will take heed, shop smartly and shop wisely to make sure that they don't actually have a very challenging start to 2018.
Great to talk to both of you. Thank you so much. Kate Hardcastle there for us in Leeds, and Sarah Hewen here, Chief Economist for Europe at Standard Chartered. Thank you very much for your time.